Okay, on the top, go ahead and write, this is Chapter 5, Day 1. Chapter 5, Day 1. Now, where it says rules for graphing inequalities. So the first thing I want you to write down is we use an open circle for less than or greater than signs. And then we use a closed circle for less than or equal to and greater than or equal to signs. So the very first thing we're going to do, the very first 4 questions, we're just going to practice graphing, okay? And this should kind of bring you back to middle school. So we're going to go to 3, which is in between 2 and 4. So there's 3. Now, am I going to put an open or a closed circle? Open. And then it's less than, so I shade to the left. Again, I'm graphing it above the line so you can see it a little bit better. I don't care if you graph it on the line or above the line as long as I can see it. Okay, let's look at number 2. -1 is right next to the 0. Open or a closed circle. Open. And it's greater than, so I shade to the right. Okay, again, this is greater than, and that's a greater than symbol. Okay, number 3. I'm going to go to 7, which is in between 6 and 8. Open or closed? Closed. And then this is a greater than symbol, so I shade to the right. And then number 4, I'm going to go to -5, which is in between -4 and -6. So here's -5. Open or closed? Closed. And I shade to the left. Okay. Now, we're going to do the bottom 4, the next 4 are backwards. They give us the graph, and we have to write the inequality. So we're going to start just with X, or you can start with N, it doesn't matter. And then what I always do is look at the arrow. That tells you what sign to use, the arrow that's shaded. Okay, so that's a less than. Now, it's an open circle, so do I need the bar? Nope, and then it's -2. That's where it begins. Okay, let's do number 6. I'm going to start with X. Look at the shaded circle, which is greater than. Do I need the bar underneath it? Yes, because it's a closed circle on 4. Okay, look at 7. Start with X. Look at the shaded arrow, that's less than. Do I need the bar underneath it? Yes, because it's a closed circle at 0. And then number 8, always start with X. Use this symbol right here, which is greater than. Do I need the bar on this one? No, because it's an open circle. And be careful here, where is that? -3. Now, after you know how to graph them, then you start solving inequalities. The nice thing is when you solve an inequality, it's the exact same thing as solving an equation. Like remember when you do the heart method, it's the exact same thing. But there's one big difference. One big difference. Who remembers from middle school when you're solving an inequality, what's the big, big difference? Think about it. Good morning.
When you switch sides, you flip the arrow.
Yep, you flip the arrow, but when do you flip the arrow?
With a negative when you multiply.
When you multiply by negative or divide by a negative. So, this is the most important thing you're going to write down all day right here. You must flip the inequality symbol when you multiply or divide by a negative number. Okay, you must flip the inequality when you multiply or divide by a negative number. Now, I have a really easy way to teach that. Remember when I taught you the heart method? All you have to do is look at the number in the heart. If the number in the heart is negative, that's when you flip your sign. So let's go to the very first question right here. So let's go to number 9. You can't see that. All right, and we're going to do the heart method. So here's my heart. okay? Inside of the heart, is there a negative number? No, so you don't have to worry about flipping it. You don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to draw my line, subtract 2 from both sides. This part should be easy for you. So I have 3x is less than negative 6. And then how do I get rid of a times 3? Divide by 3. So I get x is less than negative 2, and that's my answer. Now, do you see how on the bottom they give you a graph? They want you to graph the solution. So here's 0, and here's negative 2. Open or close circle? Open, shaded to the left. So those are all of the solutions, everything that I shaded. Okay, let's do number 10. So here's my heart. I'm going to draw my heart over x over 6. Are there any negatives in the heart? No, so you don't have to worry about flipping it. So you just solve it like normal. Draw your line, subtract 2 from both sides. So I have x over 6 is greater than negative 3. Now who remembers, how do I get rid of a divided by 6? Multiply by 6. So I have x is greater than, what's that, negative 18? So here's 0. Just put negative 18 somewhere to the left, somewhere on the negative side. It doesn't matter where it is. Open or closed? Open, and it says greater than. So match this with the arrow. Okay, questions on that? All right, turn it over. Let's look at number 11. Now, so I'm going to draw my heart. Now, inside of the heart, do you see a negative number? Yes. That's when you need to flip your sign. So you solve it the exact same way. Draw your line. How do I get rid of a plus 8? Minus 8. So I have negative 7x is less than or equal to negative 7. And here is where you're going to flip your sign. Because how do I get rid of a times negative 7? Divide by negative 7. So because I'm dividing by negative 7, I switch it. So the less than or equal to becomes greater than or equal to. And what's negative 7 over negative 7? 1. So here's my solution. So I put a 0. I put a 1. Is it open or closed? Closed circle, and it's going to the right. Okay. Look at number 12. If I draw my heart, do you see a negative inside of the heart? Yes. So that means I'm going to have to flip my sign eventually. So I'm going to draw my line. How do I get rid of that minus 5? Plus 5. So I have x over negative 8 is less than negative 2 plus 5 is what, 3? Now, how do I get rid of a divided by negative 8? Times negative 8. So here, because I am multiplying by a negative number, the less than is going to flip and become greater than. And then 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. So that right there is my solution. So it starts out as a less than, but then it flips to be a greater than. So start with 0, put negative 24 over on the negative side. Open or close circle. Open, shaded to the right. Okay, let's look at 13. Going to put my heart. Is this one going to need to be flipped? All you have to do is look at the heart and you can tell. Are you going to have to flip it? Yes, because the heart is negative. So I add 5 to both sides. So I have negative 2x is less than or equal to, is that 24? Now watch, when I divide by a negative number, the less than or equal to flips and becomes greater than or equal to. Everything else stays the same. So that's my solution. I start with a 0. I put a negative 12 over on the negative side. Open or closed? Closed. And greater than means shade to the right. So it's going to go that way. Okay, now 14, you got to be careful because 14, your heart is around negative 4x. Now, this is a positive 3. So how do I get rid of a positive 3? Negative 3. So I have negative 4x is less than 28. And now this is the part. This is when you can determine if you flip it or not. If I'm dividing by a -4, do I flip it? Yes. Less than becomes greater than. 28 divided by -4 is -7. It doesn't matter if your answer turns out to be positive or negative. The fact that I'm dividing by a -4 means I flip it. So here's 0. -7 is somewhere over there. It's an open circle. X is greater than. I shade to the right. Okay. We're going to do just 3 more, and then we'll be done. So go to 15. Oh, this is tricky. Who remembers how do you get rid of a fraction? Multiply by the reciprocal. So here's my line. I subtract 5 from both sides. So 3/4 x is greater than 6. So I times both sides by 4/3. Do I need to flip any signs? Nope, everything's positive. So I have x is greater than, what's that give me, 8? 6 times 4 is 24, divided by 3 is 8. So start with a 0. Then on the positive side somewhere put an 8. Open or a closed circle. Open, shade to the right. Okay, 2 more. Draw your heart. Now on this one, are you going to have to flip it? Yes, because inside of the heart, you've got that negative fraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I have -5 6x is greater than or equal to 15. Now I flip it, so I times it by -6/5. It doesn't matter where the negative sign is. I just always keep it on the top. So I have x, I have to flip it. Greater than or equal to becomes less than or equal to, because I'm multiplying by a negative. Let's see, 15 divided by 5 is 3 times 6, that give me -18. So here's a 0, here's a -18. Open or a closed circle? Closed. Less than means I shade to the smaller side. All the numbers that are less than. And then the last one we're going to do is number 17. Am I going to have to flip this one? Nope, because inside of the heart is a positive number. So I add 2 to both sides. So I have 5x is less than or equal to -5. Divide by 5, divide by 5, and I get x is less than or equal to -1. Now some people will be like, well, wait a minute, you got -1, so why didn't you flip it? The only time you flip it is when the number inside of the heart is negative, when this number is negative. You don't care about that number right there. It's when this number is. So when you graph that, put your 0 in the middle, put a -1, open or close circle, close, shaded to the left.